Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, your host, and today we are with Dr. Maureen Gibbons, and she's all about making sure that we're taking care of ourselves because let's be honest, we can get burned out, we can get tired, we can get bogged down, and the more and more we work, and then sometimes we don't have time for the exercise or the movement, which that's totally me right now. And so if we don't prioritize, if we don't plan, it really does do a lot of things to us, where in reality, the more you exercise, the more you're moving, it could actually be helpful to you. So without further ado, Dr. Mo, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, we were just talking about a little bit offline, just to give the listeners a bit of background about real life and the things that happen and the things that matter and the things that don't. Mm-hmm. And so I am Dr. Mo, and the funny thing is I've gone by Dr. Mo long before I was a doctor. Back when I was an athletic trainer, I worked on the sidelines, football games, and my football coach called me Dr. Mo Medicine Woman, which tells you how old I am, right? And I'll wrap myself out right there.
The fact that I understand what that reference is to.
Exactly. Your younger listeners are going to be like, what does that mean? Google it. Just Google it, because if you Google that, it'll probably come up with the Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman show.
Right.
Anyhow. So that's been a moniker for 30 years now, because when I first started in that job, I was an athletic trainer before I went to medical school. I've been coaching for 35 years, whether I wanted to or not. And that's what I do now at kind of the highest level of my entrepreneurial journey, which is, looking back, it's really what I wanted to build. It's just been a really interesting road to get there. So I was an athletic trainer. I'm a certified sports nutritionist. I'm emergency medicine trained physician, obesity medicine board certified, lifestyle medicine board eligible. That exam is offered once a year. So it's just whenever I take that exam. And I founded a lifestyle medicine practice. And in all of this, in this journey from emergency medicine to lifestyle medicine, I realized lifestyle medicine isn't just for the patient.
Right.
In the way that I practice medicine, I don't honestly really practice medicine anymore. I create systems for other people to practice medicine, whether that's in my practice or theirs. And I coach high achievers to create systems that work on their worst days. Because every day can be a worst day.
That is fantastic. And I love that as an entrepreneur, it's like, well, I want this and I want this and I want this. And so you continue to grow and you continue to learn. That's what we do as entrepreneurs. And so then you get more, you have a smorgasbord, I guess, of things that you can do, but it gets you to where you want to be. And so I love that you talk about being able to create the systems. So let's talk about movement and why health is so important when it comes to entrepreneurship.
Well, I'll argue that health is important regardless, because I call it health freedom, right? I help people build health, time, and income freedom. And you honestly, you can't have one without the other. And one of my old business coaches, and I obviously this is a common adage, but this is the first time I had heard it, was if you have your health, you have 99 problems. If you don't have your health, you have one.
Wow.
But we put it off until it becomes too late.
Yeah. It's interesting because I used to be bordering on anorexic because of all these other things. And so I think that my health, I've always had an issue with my health. And I've struggled, and I think part of that was lack of nutrition or whatever it was. But getting to where I am now because of other emotional issues that I've had in later life, I ended up full swing the other way. And I went to the pantry to eat so that I would not say things or to punish the person I was mad at. And then I woke up one day. For those of us
who never had a voice, it's very common.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one day I woke up, I went to the doctor, and they're like, "You're pre-diabetic." I'm like, "Huh? What?" This cannot be. And so then I went on this mission of, okay, I need to take care of myself because I have little kids still. And also turning that 50, I had a bucket list of things before I turned 50. And one of them was run a marathon. And so have a hysterectomy 6 weeks later, I'm bedridden for 6 weeks. I had some other stuff done as well that I don't talk about. And then, I instantly I literally said from bed to marathon. And so I started walking for a minute, and I hadn't run for 8 years because broken bones and babies, right? And so long story short, I'm like training and I get to 4 miles and then I do this 10K and I do it. It was great. And then the next day I tried to run and I can't. I feel like I broke both of my shins, literally. So my husband has to carry me to the doctor because I can't walk. And I go to physical therapy and the doctor's like, okay, you know what? Just don't train, just go do it. The most I'd run was 4 miles, and he wants me to run 26.2. I'm like, you're an idiot. How stupid can you be? Long story short, I did try to train. And at that point, I'm like, no, when is the next marathon? I'm just going to go do it. And I did, right? And so like 2 weeks later, I'm running this marathon, finished in the time that I needed to. But I realized that the more that I was running, the better I was feeling, both physically, because I have a whole bunch of hip problems. And the more I was moving, the better I felt. I wasn't in pain versus like we won't even talk about your mind, right? And the fact that I was able to accomplish that. And then as soon as I ran that marathon, I got to be honest, I've not been very good since. And so why is it so easy for people to put off their health when in reality that is so important?
Immediate gratification. I mean, I hate to say it. It's the human mind. And it's, oh, I'll lift tomorrow. And especially for those of us, I mean, I'm 52, I'm female. I'm obviously not very big boned. I don't have a lot of muscle on this frame, regardless of how much excess adipose tissue I had collected over the years. Right. I never had a lot of muscle in there. Granted, it was a lot stronger before. And not because of the weight loss is it weak. It's weak because I sit on my rear end, right? Because in the moment, it is gratifying for me to create things. Right? My brain, if you're an entrepreneur, right. If you're a visionary especially, I've had to turn myself almost into a visionary operator because I need to channel that into things that get done. Well, what does that do? That creates, all right, well, listen, I've got to create this system, and these systems are the holy grail for me. My brain is chaotic. Systems fix it. Great. However, when it comes time to, it's time to go lift, my brain says, yeah, but you're knee deep in systems. You're knee deep in building. You want to keep building. How about we create the system to build ourselves? Because we're not building ourselves. And every day you spend not getting healthier, not actively getting healthier, you're getting sicker.
That's true.
And we don't feel it until then, right? I mean, I watched my grandmother. A lot of my journey is inspired by my grandmother, because I watched her decline for the last essentially 20 years of her life. She died at 92. And I watched her decline. I did not see her enough because, that was going to be an excuse. I didn't see her enough. Okay, let's just call that what it is. I'm like, ooh, check your language there. And I do have some regrets with that for sure. But I watched her decline from what's called sarcopenic obesity. And that means we have a little bit of muscle mass, a lot to carry. And over time, she could not stand up out of a chair without falling down, ripping her legs open, creating these wounds.
Oh my gosh.
And she was one of those people that would have told me in her 40s or 50s, I'm active. I run around after my kids all the time. I'm active. That doesn't make you active. And it doesn't make you functional at 80.
I'm watching that right now with my mother-in-law, and she is a very smart woman and she's a very strong woman, but she has chosen her entire life. So we're talking 60 years of her life, or actually she got married at 16. So do the math, right? I guess it's, now that bothers me. I can't even do the math right now. 70
It's
years.
okay. Not a hill you're going to die on. A bunch
72,
of years, decades.
72
decades.
years. Yeah. She's laid in bed her whole life. And so like she's strong, which I don't know how, because why aren't you withered away? But she has literally done that. And so she was this very smart woman, but now she's losing her mind, and her family is like they live until they're 100, and she's 88. And she just losing her mind because she doesn't use it. And so I think of it the same way as your body with muscle. If you're not using it, it's atrophied. Her brain, we're going to have to put her in long-term care very, very soon. It's not even safe to have her here because of how her brain, and so she's she stares at the ceiling or she stares at the wall. No joke. She doesn't even watch TV. She just sits in her own thoughts all day, every day.
I can't stay there all day.
Can you imagine? And so you
Well,
go
the
to try
funny
to
part
talk
is-
to her and you can't.
And we're seeing now how much activity also prevents Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah.
And the sedentary nature, the typical metabolic cascade, you know, people say it's menopause. I tend to not agree. I don't know. I don't have any menopause or perimenopausal symptoms. I don't know because, like I said, you know, my uterus is in a jar as well somewhere. Yes, I know it's cremated. I get that. That's not the point. But I always joke that my uterus is in a jar. I have no idea. And, you know, you get your hormones checked and they're going to fluctuate day by day. So I don't care. They're like, just go on your symptoms. I'm like, I don't have any.
Yeah.
Because I've released 50 pounds of excess adipose tissue that I battled with my brain and my body for 45 years. I don't have that. I'm starting to reverse the cumulative abuse instead of, again, you have to choose, and it's hard. It's hard to get out of the chair. That's why. You ask why it's so hard? Because you know what? It's hard to get out of the chair. It's easier to sit, lay in bed, and look at the ceiling.
Yeah. Or look at your computer screen, and then you lose your eyesight because you're looking at the computer screen, so now you need your glasses. But, you know, it is because the blue light, but that's a real thing, I believe, because I've gone blind in just the last couple of years. Okay, so it is possible to reverse it, though, right?
A lot of it, yes.
Okay. So what is your recommendation besides, like, yeah, let's just get out of the chair. It's easy, but what is your recommendation to make it a reality?
So again, it's so funny because this has been it's been a journey. You know, we talk about entrepreneurship, and I've been a full-time entrepreneur for 2 years now. I was in emergency medicine, you know, full-time up until 2 years ago, nearly to the day. And
Congrats.
thank you. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. So now I just work all the time. No, and because you do. I mean, I just
let's be
enjoy it
honest.
so much. And until I hit what's called a pain line. I did not coin that term. I don't think Dan Martell coined it either. But you hit the point where things aren't working. And but in entrepreneurship, because you're building what you're building, you hit them sooner. Or faster. I shouldn't say sooner. It's just faster because there's no one holding you back, right? Which is kind of cool, but also terrifying. So in order to reverse, I don't like the word reverse. I just don't. Because we're never going to really go back, right? We need to build. And people say, oh, you want to regain your freedom. I'm like, did we ever have it? Like,
Yeah.
really? Like, I grew up eating TV dinners. I don't really want that health I had back then.
That's true too.
You know, so I want to build something better and stronger. So to do that, the number one thing I would tell people is start small. Well, no, I shouldn't say that, because some people need a big kick in the pants, right? You're only going to do what works for you. So if you set a daily non-negotiable of, I'm going to intentionally move 30 minutes a day. Like in my coaching program, we have 3 dailies, and that's one of them, is you have to intentionally move 30 minutes a day. Now, that can progress. Yes, should you do some strength training? Yes, you should do some cardio to improve your VO2 max. Here I go. I'm going to go a litany of all the things you're supposed to do, and you're going to hear all of them and do none of them.
Yeah.
That's why my daily non-negotiable is you move intentionally for 30 minutes. Now you're like, well, what do I do? Well, I don't know. What are your goals? If it's simply to stand up off the toilet when you're 80.
I don't mean to laugh, but it's a real thing.
Right. Like, hey, listen, everyone should have that goal. Let's be real.
Yeah.
You know, let's just start there. Well, then you should probably start doing some body weight squats every day. I'm going to go out on a limb. You know, stand in front of the toilet. Feel free to put the seat down, you know, put your pants up. And do body weight squats down to the toilet and make sure you can do that a whole bunch. Start there. And it sounds dumb because is that a workout program? No, it's not.
Okay, so let me ask this because my doctor said this, which he's disappeared. We don't know what happened to him for real. But he said that if it's better to do like 10 minutes in the morning, like go out for a walk, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, 10 minutes in the evening. It's actually better for you than doing 30 minutes all at once. Is that true? What's your take on that?
The best workout's the one you're going to do.
Okay.
So if you're like, nope, I'll give you my example. 45 minutes is really where I want to be.
Right.
as far as bare minimum of movement a day. Well, I did 30 minutes this morning, and that other 15 minutes is hanging over my head. It's taking up brain space. It's annoying me. It would have been way better had I just done it and then counted anything extra that I did in the day extra. That's me. If you're like, I don't have 30 minutes in the morning. I did a mastermind last July, and I had to be up at 2:45 in the morning. And I'm like, I don't do this. This is not me. This is not my body clock. Nothing is good. But you know what I did? I brought bands with me, pretty hefty exercise bands. Not that I'm not strong. It's just, you want ones to do stuff. And I did 10 minutes of exercise before I left that room because I was going to get something in for the day. It's that, because then it's my day. I set up my day. I'm running this. Instead of, so is it better? You know what? It would be great if you did 150 minutes of zone 2 to 3 cardiovascular activity per the American College of Cardiology. And, if you're working on your VO2 max and you lifted 2 to 3 days a week for 30 minutes a time, and, you ate 100 grams of protein for most women out there. Please don't take this as medical advice, but general. Yeah. You ate 100 grams of protein a day, preferably clean protein from grass-fed animals and organic produce for your carbohydrates.
So overwhelmed.
Right? And then you're like, I'm going to go watch Netflix and grab the Ben & Jerry's because that was too much for me.
And instead of Twizzlers. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right? Whatever your drug of choice is, I'm good with it. Yeah. Trust me, I have had a lot of years of it. And instead of, okay, I have a list of 5 things that I do them every day. Okay, great. They might change, but I know I have intentional movement every day. If I'm traveling and I can literally do body weight squats in the airport bathroom, I'll do it 3 times. It's 15 minutes. But you're choosing life. You're choosing your own function instead of outsourcing your confidence and just hoping it'll be fine.
I think, and that's the difference for me, is that when I'm choosing to do this, I'm choosing to do it because really the only person it's going to affect, which is not true either, is me, right? Because if it does affect, like now I feel more confident, I'm happier with myself, I don't feel like this loser that didn't do what I was supposed to do that day. So I might be nicer to my husband or my kids. So when I say it's not just for you, but like you're taking control over yourself. You're choosing, like the only person that can really move yourself is you. And so you're choosing to intentionally do it for yourself, which in turn has other trickle down effects. But I think that that's the part that I was so happy and so proud. Like that 30 minutes to an hour when I was training was my time, and it became very religious, and I loved it for many reasons. And so I think that that's the part that why I haven't done it since, and I won't tell you how long it's been, but that's something that's important, and your body does need it, and you do feel better. What does it do to your brain, and why is movement so good for your brain?
Well, at the very base level, it's blood flow, right? Because think about this, we're bipeds, we stand on our feet. Yeah. Your brain's the farthest from the ground most times, unless, you're pooling blood when you sleep. Granted, hopefully not pooling blood, but you know what I mean. It's not doing a whole lot. Imagine the increased blood flow to your brain when your heart beats, not from anxiety, but from exercise, from activity. Your muscles are working. They're pushing blood back to your brain, back to your organs, bringing it back in. That's why if you see someone, and like you said, unfortunately, your mother-in-law, that when people are very sedentary, their legs get very big. They get cellulitis because they don't have great blood flow anymore. Because it pools there. So even from its basic standpoint, and then you get the endorphins and you get the feel-good chemicals where your body's just producing them because your body's like, oh, check this out. We're doing some fun stuff. Yeah. And then the mental feedback loop of, if you were to start, because I've heard you say a couple times how long it's been. I don't care how long it's been. Doesn't matter. I don't have yesterday. Can't go back. I'm contemplating, like, how can I sneak in this 15-minute workout today?
Because I'm like, just get on while we talk. Just start moving.
I know, right? I'm actually looking around the room saying, I wonder if I could at least I bet I could do my strength in here and nobody knows. because I always want to hide stuff, right? Because that's like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you grew up with an eating disorder, you know how this works.
Yeah.
And it's the loss of agency that drove a lot of us to our behaviors.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
unfortunately, once they're there, the neural circuits are stuck. Like you're done. You have to manage those. It's a chronic illness. Just live with it. So if I want to hide something, number one, my personal recovery, my professional success depend upon me not hiding. If I didn't do my workout as planned and I'm going to do it later, I have to be willing to tell people outwardly, guess what? I'm going to go do this workout.
Because you're declaring it, which is a goal setting step, but keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because if you're going to, I mean, the goals are ours. It's agency.
Yeah.
You know, and nobody told you to run that marathon. You set the goal.
Yeah. Yep.
And, you know, I've had to revisit some goals. Signed up for a half Ironman that decided not to do, which is I don't like that, right? Because you make a commitment, you set a goal and everything for the goal. And then I'm like, yeah, but I don't think that's my goal this year. It's not my first. I've done that particular race. I think I've done 7 times.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what am I proving? What is the goal? And then I determined it was a distraction because the actual goal is a lot more uncomfortable.
See, so let's talk about that, because that's the part where getting honest with yourself that is so hard, because, you know, you're very accomplished, you're very knowledgeable, and yet you're human. So I love to hear your vulnerable side, that like even someone like Dr. Mo, you know, she's not going to do her 7th. And it's because you have this other goal, and that's a distraction. Like, how good for you that you actually came to be honest with yourself and accept that. Like, okay, you know what? There's something else, and I don't want to do that something else. So I'll go do this easy thing.
It's so funny because you're like, yeah, I'm going to go do an 8-hour race because it's easier. What brain thinks that? This one. You know, but it's true. You know, I did 7 Ironmans, and each one of those fulls, and each one of those had a reason behind it, you know, and because you don't really just do that kind of training for fun. But I paid a price, and it wasn't necessarily my health. It was partly relationships. I wasn't as present because, of course, I'm dropping my kid off with my mom so I can go ride 6 hours or whatever. I'm married, but my husband also raced, and he's still full-time in emergency medicine. I mean, that's like Tetris right there. Like, you're trying to fit stuff in, and, you know, I was working full-time. And I want to prioritize relationships because health is not just physical. And I'm terrible at relationships.
That's why I wrote the book.
Admittedly.
You know what? It is so true. And I'm realizing that too, because like for some reason this year, I think it's because my oldest 4 are now, well, the youngest, he was supposed to be out of the house. He had this massive surgery that's, you know, big time recovery. So his life got put on hold. He should have been in Chile right now, and he's devastated. But I realized, like, there's 4, and yet now I have these 2 stragglers, one that's still in elementary, that, you know, I have time, and spending time with them, because it goes by so quickly. Like right now, that's way more important to me than any amount of money that I could be making, honestly. And so like I used to be on the phone in the car all the time, because I'm always in the car. And yet my kids, I look back and they're just quietly looking around because mom's on the phone. And I'm like, whoa, time out. And so now 2026, and I've been actually pretty good about this. If my kids are with me, I'm not on the phone, like especially in the car. I'm not going to do that because, and my husband, it's not even fun to go anywhere. You're always on the phone in the car, you know? And so it's like, okay, they've all told me. So now I need to listen to that and be honest. And so I've actually told my clients, I've told my friends, don't call me at this time because I'm picking up my kids. And
or if they
it's not a good time.
Don't answer.
And that's the other thing I don't like. I'll call you back. Yeah.
I mean, so here's the thing. You know, we talked a lot about planning workouts into your day. How do you minimize distractions? Because that's hard for every one of us.
Right.
You know, I understand that most of us are probably either undiagnosed ADHD or is it even really a disorder?
So
I mean, let's be real. Like there's a spectrum for sure. You know, everyone's brain works differently. So you've got to determine what works for your brain. Well, being constantly inundated by notifications works well for no one's brain.
Yeah. That's true. There's a Pomodoro technique. I'm like looking for it. It's behind here, but it's like, if you haven't heard, it's Pomodoro, and it like, okay, 25 minutes. This is all I'm doing. Mute your phone, silence whatever. You're not taking the calls, and like it's freeing to me. I had a client that I don't do anything on Sunday. Like, I just don't work on Sunday. That's my one day off. And Sunday I get this call from somebody, hey, can you show me this property? I'm like, can we do it tomorrow? Well, I can't tomorrow, and it'd be nice to see it, as soon as possible. I had this feeling like nothing good comes from Sundays. Like, I have never sold a house on a Sunday. I've never, nothing. And so my client calls me because I asked her a question, because I asked her, she's like, Charisse, I thought you didn't work on Sunday. I'm like, and I was at church when she calls, right? And so I'm like, yeah, normally I don't. And sure enough, they weren't interested. They're not going to buy the house. I'm like, look, I wasted my day. And I made sure, I'll meet you at 9 a.m. because my family's still asleep. So that was my justification, which they were still in bed when I got home. But, what a waste. And so it's like, okay, the boundaries that you set, stick to your boundaries and be respectful, because your family, you only get them one time. Or, they grow up and move out of the house, fly the nest, or your husband's like, well, hi, I'm here. What about me? Who's more important, that client or your spouse?
And even touching base. Like, the only times my phone make noise are when my very close relatives, aka parents or kid, I only have one, or my husband texts me, or call me, of course. And most people don't call me, though. Let's be real. If they're calling, there's something wrong. And setting that boundary, I actually have a new focus on my phone called family, because do not disturb wasn't heavy enough. Really? And while we were on a trip recently, my son, who's 12, said, you're not here. You're doing stuff on your phone when you should be here with us. Wow,
at 12. Ouch.
So that moment, so when I'm on a trip, and it's a time where, because there are times, I work while we travel as well.
Entrepreneur, yeah.
But there are times when that family thing goes on, and I don't, there are 2 people that come through. That's it. And they're the ones who are weirdly with me. So I'm like, that's it. If people need me, they're going to, and realistically, what is urgent? What is important? Yeah. Nothing's urgent.
Yeah.
And like you said, you didn't sell the house. Is that critical to your career? No.
And I think that's the part is, okay, you know what? They can wait an hour. They can wait. And heaven forbid if I call them back tomorrow. And if I don't know, it's not as important. Like, my family, I don't want to have regrets later in life. And I realized, I was actually dropping my daughter off today at school. I realized I have been an entrepreneur for 10 years. She is 10 years old. So her entire life, she's only known mom with her phone in her ear. Like, that's not cool, right? And so, and granted, like, people, please understand, me. I mean, like, family is everything to me. But it's also been tough. Like, if I'm showing homes or if I'm out doing something, I used to not answer my phone if it was my kids. Well, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that anymore. And if that's where the boundaries, like, if you have clients that bothers them, then they're probably the wrong clients for you. And you probably don't enjoy working with them anyway. So I think that's the part, is getting honest with yourself with everything.
It's hard. It's really uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable, because, well, what if they don't pay me and then I don't make any money, and then I can't pay for my home, and then I'm not taking care of my family anyway. So, because those of us who are entrepreneurs, I understand traditionally, the male was the breadwinner. I get that. But we don't feel good unless we're contributing. And I don't just mean money, I mean value.
Yeah.
And I think to say that and to confront that fear head on, that if you lost every client you have, it doesn't mean you're not valuable. It means you were in the wrong space.
Let that sink in. So I was talking with somebody recently, and he had talked about how this person, he was all about making money. He was going to go like train cardiologist, right? He was all about making money. And when he finally well, you know what? I'm going to help this person without limbs. And now that's this person had 400 clients in like 6 weeks because he finally figured out the path that he wanted to make, and the money followed later, and he makes a lot of money. But like, if you figure out, and that's the whole thing with this podcast, find your purpose, find your passion, and find your peace. And like, all of those things have to work together so that you are happy in life. Because if you just feel like, I have a very close person that hates what he or she does, literally. And when you call them, it's, hey, how are you? And, oh, so negative on life. And I'm like, God, well, why do you do it? Because I have to. Well, but why? Well, because, there's a lifestyle that you're living, and that's why. And I thought about it. Like, if I sold everything, we would be okay. But like, and went and lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. I think it's because I went and looked at an apartment with my son yesterday that was wanting to move. And when I walked in that little tiny apartment, and it's 2-bedroom, 1-bath, but I thought, oh my gosh, this takes me back. I have not been in an apartment like this since I was newly married, right?
Yeah.
But how carefree I was at that time, how stress-free. And you got to think back now, it's not stress-free because everything, but life is a little simpler. And when we start to think like, okay, you make this much money, but what is your lifestyle also up here now? Or are you down here, but you're enjoying life? And that's the part you have to figure out. Like, I'm not going to answer that for you. Where are you when you're happy? And are you genuinely happy? Because if you're not, what changes do you need to make? And that's the tough part. That's where you cancel your Ironman.
Yeah, exactly. And that's hard. That's a hard decision for me. Still is. Sort of. But again, I've kind of embraced it at this point, and I'm like, whatever. But if that's the worst thing that happens to me today, I'm rocking the day. Let's be real. But
Right.
it's so funny because when you say that about it being carefree before, I was never carefree.
I know, neither was I. I'm like, well,
It's not,
different
but it's
set of
what
problems.
we're told, right? It's what we hear in the media, like, oh, when things were easy. Were they really? Like, do you remember 8th grade? That sucked.
7th was bad. So
Yeah, but you're right, exactly. But you look back in college, and for me, med school, and somebody asked me yesterday, but wasn't med school kind of fun? I'm like, no. No, it was a lot of turmoil. I was going through a lot of emotional things. I was trying to find my way. I was hypercritical in my brain. 2 years out of residency, I almost didn't make it. And I don't mean almost didn't make it professionally. I mean, almost didn't make it on the planet, right? So I was in a really low spot. But I've always been in that low spot. I bounced on that spot since I was 12. And so I was never carefree. But funny you mention that, because I'm hitting another pain line because I'm working too much. And you can feel that. Well, that doesn't mean work less. I'm asking, I have a lot of people that I pay to help me. Why are they not owning their job?
yeah.
And it's because the boundaries that I set, because I swoop in and rescue them.
Good example. I paid a VA for a year. And she was supposed to work 20 hours a week for me. And in an entire year, I think she might have worked 60 hours for me. And I was still paying her faithfully every month because she needed the money. And I didn't want to take the time, or I didn't want to, inconvenience her or blah. And she would, I wish I had her today because she would be so busy. But I realized that particular person, the fact that she let me do that as well, I'm not okay with that either. And so it was one of those things that, it's, why do you pick up the slack? Like, as women entrepreneurs, why are you so willing to pick up the slack and not make somebody else own it? Because you're doing a disservice to yourself. You're missing out on the time with your kids or kid, and you're not giving them the opportunity to grow and own and be responsible. And so, I don't think to this day, and she'll probably watch this podcast, love you, but I don't think she realizes why I am not giving her work again. And it's because of that.
Well, and we evolve so quickly as entrepreneurs. If you let yourself, right? If you let yourself, you've got to allow the space for that to happen. And I know with the people that are on my staff, I'm actually bringing on a new executive assistant. My EA is moving over to HR, and there are some growing pains for sure. And my new one doesn't even start till Monday, but we have some serious growing pains, and it's not because of her.
Yeah.
It's my systems. And that's why people are like, why do you keep talking about systems? I said, because if you had taken the time, and everybody says this when they first get the executive assistant bug put in their ear. Everybody says the same thing. I don't have enough for them to do.
Oh, yeah, you do.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I look at it and I'm like, I don't have enough time to create the systems for all of the things that they could do way better than I can. How do I know it's better? I'll give you my concrete example. How I know I need more help is when I am late twice on a payment. That's when I gave over, because everyone's like, I don't want my EA I don't want my assistant. I'll just say assistant, because I know some people, I don't care what you call them. I don't want my assistant in my bank accounts. Why? I don't know. I don't want them in my personal email. Who's really sending you nasty? Like, who's sending you what, right? Like, let's be real. And if they are, that's an entirely different issue.
Yeah.
And that lack of integrity is going to be a bigger problem than not having an assistant. You know, but that's when I knew I need somebody. And she pays our business credit card, because what it was, our business credit card, right. It's a credit card. And we had to pay it. And if we didn't pay it, it shut down payments from my patients.
Oh, wow.
Like, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
And it happened twice. And I'm like, I need somebody to handle this. So now she pays it. She works 5 days a week and she pays it every day. Like, do we need to? No, don't care. Like, just pay it every day. Make sure that, like, just, I don't care if it's $2,000 on there for that day, pay it every day. Every day you work, you pay it to zero, pay it to zero, pay it to zero. Because, and it's $100,000 limit. But twice on my own. And like when you see, oh, you see that thing that's been sitting on your desk for 3 weeks? It just took me 6 months to redo my will.
Well, and I think for those that are starting out, it's okay, you don't have to have them full time if you're not at that point, but hire. Like, you need somebody. You really do need somebody. And start at 10 hours, 20 hours, 25 hours, 30 hours. It doesn't matter. And then if they're not good at this, but you need someone for this too, okay, then have 2 part-time people. Figure out what they specialize in, and until they get good at that, you don't need a full-time person if they can't do everything. But right. Somebody that's really good at marketing, SEO, if that's what you need, and then somebody that's really good at the paperwork and the administrative tasks, if that's what you need. And heaven forbid, hire 3 people at like 15 hours, or 20 hours a week. The amount that you could accomplish, way more.
Yep.
So I love that. If somebody wanted to find you or get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you, first of all?
The fastest way to get a hold of me is Instagram DM. So if you go over to Instagram, it's Dr. Mo Gibbons, M-O-E, and it's Gibbons like the monkey. You go over there, Instagram, just send me a DM that says podcast, and I'll actually kick back and I'll talk to you. But I'll kick back, it's called a vital metric review, because what I do is the very first thing I help people with, it's throwing everything out there and seeing what's actually on your plate. And how it kind of feeds your soul or doesn't.
And that's so necessary, figuring out what you're good at, what you want to do, and what you don't want to do. So that's good. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
And Unbreakable Mom's passion and purpose, and figuring out what you're good at and what you don't want to be good at, and being honest with yourself and vulnerable. Those are such good lessons that if you listen to us, because we've been doing it for a while, and you're new, take our advice and don't learn the hard way. And go out and make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.